Welcome to the McCat Multimedia Series, a McCat analysis of Thomas Kuhn's The Structure of Scientific Revolutions. For many years, scholars believed that the history of science was linear, a rational progression characterized by the accumulation of knowledge. It took an American physicist and historian of science, Thomas Kuhn, to turn that understanding on its head. In 1962, Kuhn published a book called The Structure of Scientific Revolutions that claimed the development of scientific discovery was not linear, but cyclical. Kuhn believed that science was punctuated by revolutions that signaled major shifts in scientific understanding. He claimed that this cycle had a recognizable structure that was characterized by successive periods of normal and extraordinary science. What did Kuhn mean when he wrote that science is cyclical? Just as scientific evolution is dynamic and constantly changing, so too is the Earth we live on. The characteristics of Kuhn's scientific cyclical cycle can be compared to the environmental changes that happen on Earth. During the last ice age, the Earth's temperature stayed relatively constant. This can be compared to Kuhn's so-called normal phase of science, the period in the cycle where a scientific model of understanding is followed. Kuhn calls this model a paradigm, and he argues that in this phase, experiments and discoveries are made, but the paradigm is not challenged, just as the climate in the Ice Age remained largely unchanged. Then, a slight change in the Earth's orbit resulted in a dramatic rise in temperature. The glaciers began to melt. This shift in the Earth's orbit was the catalyst for massive environmental change. In Kuhn's cycle, this is the point when a scientist conducts an experiment that disproves the currently accepted paradigm. Just as the ice begins to melt, the old model of scientific understanding begins to collapse. It's at crisis point. With the composition of Earth's atmosphere altered, the weather becomes increasingly turbulent. In Kuhn's cycle, we've reached the extraordinary phase, which is equally unsettled. Scientists are all trying to find a new set of rules to move forward with. A revolution is underway. After a while, the Earth begins to settle and life adapts to this new climate. This is the final stage in Kuhn's cycle, where a new paradigm is discovered and a new set of scientific rules can be constructed. Scientists will then start to develop their experiments, and the next cycle begins. Kuhn's theory in the structure of scientific revolutions had widespread effect that reached further than just scientific circles. In fact, the term paradigm shift originates from this book. A more detailed examination can be found in the McCat analysis.